What's up, guys? Nate Jackson here, Guerilla Sports. Look, I was out there at practice, Denver Broncos practice. The second one that was available to the media. It's OTAs. I think it's their 7th practice in 2 weeks. And like I said, only 2 available for the media. So we only see 1 out of every 4. Okay, so take these observations with a grain of salt here. But here's what I saw today, May 30th, Thursday. The sun is shining. It's getting a little hot out there. But these guys are flying around. They're bouncing around. There's a lot of energy. In fact, youth and energy were 2 of the words that Sean Payton used to describe what's going on out there with these guys. I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air. Ding dong, the witch is dead kind of thing. Russell Wilson, he's not a witch, but he's gone. And Justin Simmons, team leader, veteran, good presence in the locker room, but he's gone. Jerry Jeudy sucking up a lot of air. He's gone. There's a lot of young players hungry out there, want to prove that they belong, want to make an impression, and they're coachable. They are coachable kids out there working hard, good vibes. Sean Payton seemed excited about that. So he also mentioned this is a 9-day installation that they're doing right now, and they're on day 7 of it. So the way that these mini camps, training camp schedules work, they throw everything at you in the playbook, in about a 2-week span, a 9-day installation. And then once you absorb that, then they come back the next 2 weeks and they do it all over again. And then they come back in training camp and they do it all over again until you know it so well that you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about football plays. And then when you step out on the field, you don't have to think about it. It's instinctual. But there's a lot of mistakes that are made during that period of time because you're learning them. And the mistakes are okay. It's how do you react to the mistakes. That's what they want to see. But attitude and effort are non-negotiable. That's what my old tight end coach used to say, and that's what these coaches want to see. Attitude, effort. And so far, that stuff looks good. All right, we're talking about the quarterback battle. Now, before we talk about the quarterback battle, the rotations that you see, who's in there with who are the starters, don't make too much of those right now. That's what Sean Payton said after practice because they're trying out different rotations. And today, the media day, happens to be the day where Bo Nix takes the first reps. Yesterday, it was Zach Wilson. The day before that, it was Jarrett Stidham. So no, you can't look at Bo and say, oh, he's starting. No, nobody's starting. Nobody's starting right now. Everyone's competing for that starting role, as it should be. You got to prove it, and you got to compete. They want to see who's competing. That said, today out there, Bo Nix looked pretty good. To me, he moves around really well in the pocket, buys time, gets rid of the ball quickly. He processes things well. I like the way the ball comes out of his hands. I've said this before. Some folks thought he had a weak arm. I don't think he has a weak arm. He dials it up pretty well, and he's pretty accurate. But the guy who won the day is not Bo Nix, and it's not Zach Wilson. It's Stiddy. It's Stiddy, man. Stiddy had the best throw of the day. He was also very accurate and consistent, but he had the best throw of the day. It was a deep ball, a deep post. Marvin Mims took the top off, beat the safety and the backside corner, and a perfect ball, probably about 55, 60 yards in the air by Stiddy. Dropped it right in Marvin Mims' hands. Marvin can run, too, and he ran right under that ball, perfect ball. So Jarrett Stidham won the day, if you're keeping track. But again, hard to understand how to judge who's winning because there's a lot of rotations happening. So different linemen in certain plays, different defensive players. We're just trying to get a feel for who works well together as a coaching staff if I was on the coaching staff. So how do you evaluate a quarterback? He was asked that. Don't hold on to the ball too long. Process things quickly, and the longer you hold on to the ball, Sean Payton says, the more detrimental it can be to a play. And he was speaking directly to Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson last year held the ball the longest, longer than any other quarterback in the NFL. He held it the longest, and then he threw the shortest passes in the NFL, and he held on longest. That doesn't work, and we saw it on the field. Sean Payton wants a quarterback who gets rid of the ball on time to the open guy based on what the defense shows you. That's why Russell Wilson is gone. That was not his game. And these young, impressionable orphan dogs, he called them last week, are going to do that, and they are doing that. This defense, I want to talk about the defense because I'm just talking about the offense, but the defense probably won the day. They stepped up and, look, they listened to the media reports about practice. They saw Lucas Kroll, the tight end, having a great day last week and everyone talking about him. Well, they made sure to smack that ball out of Lucas Kroll's hands today and then hooted and hollered a little bit and then turned to us in the media and said, the report's going to be different this week, isn't it? they're paying attention to the media reports. And a lot of times in football practice, the defense wins one day, the offense wins one day, the defense, the offense, it goes back and forth. But the defense clearly heard the reports last week about all these offensive players balling out, and they came to make sure that didn't happen again today. A lot of passes batted down. Some passes, to me, as a receiver, tight end, I want him to catch that thing because it did hit him in the hands, but the defensive players make some nice plays on that, knocked it down. Got to give props to the defense. Sean Payton was asked, who's going to be the leader on that defense now that Justin Simmons is gone? And he said, well, look, P.J. Locke's stepping up. He has a natural, organic way about him to be a leader in there. Still early to tell. You know, this is the opening steps of this marathon that is the 2024 season. So who is going to be the leaders on this young team? He was asked about running back Javonte Williams. Coming into his second year after the ACL injury. He said he looks good, but he also cautioned us, you can't really judge these running backs very well without pads on. Some of them turn into a different player when you put the pads on and they can actually use their physicality. Same goes with the offensive line, defensive line. So really the stuff you learn most about, in my opinion, and Sean Payton's opinion as well. So the fact that we agree on that, you can take that for what it's worth. The receivers and the connection to the passing game, because it's about timing, it's about repetition, and that's where you start to learn who's going to be on the field and who's going to be part of this 53-man roster. Is going to be very competitive. Audric Estime, running back who was drafted by the Broncos, had a knee injury, had a surgery. Sean Payton framed it as no big deal, a scope, arthroscopic surgery where they just put a little thing like a little pen in there, beep, and they fix it with that. They don't have to cut you all the way open arthroscopically, and then they did a little PRP injection. PRP is when they take your own blood out of your body, they put it in a machine, spin it around in a centrifuge, and separate the plasma-rich platelets from it, and then inject that back into the site of the injury, and it helps speed up the injury recovery. So he didn't seem too concerned about Audric Estime's knee. He'll be back soon. Another highlight today, Ring of Famer Steve Foley, who was part of the Orange Crush defense back in the late 70s, is being inducted into the Ring of Fame. It just got announced today. He was out there at practice. Sean Payton really appreciates the old-timers, having them around, the tradition, the guys who paved the way for this era's football stars to get paid what they get paid, to have the eyeballs that they have on them. Steve Foley out there talked to the team, and he also talked to the media after. Steve Foley was a quarterback at Tulane, who was converted to a cornerback, a defensive player, and then eventually safety by legendary Broncos coach Joe Collier, who recently passed away. And Joe Collier was a guy who was here for a couple of decades. Mike Shanahan told me that when Mike Shanahan got here as a receiver coach in the 80s, Joe Collier was the one guy here who knew everybody's job. He knew everything about football. Mike Shanahan was so impressed by his knowledge of the game. Not all coaches have that kind of knowledge about every position and every scenario in football. Joe Collier did, and he has the respect of everybody who ever played for him, ever played with him, ever coached with him. And Steve Foley today was very he was very appreciative of the effect that Joe Collier had in his life, and he wished that he could pick up the phone and call him, but he's no longer with us. And so Steve Foley ended it by saying, you don't play for the honors, you play for the love of the game. The honors come with it if you care about the game and you care about your teammates. And that was a message he delivered to the team, and another one of them was, someone someday on this field amongst you guys is going to be up there in the Ring of Fame. Who's that person going to be? You don't know yet. Who will it be? Pat Surtain, Bo Nix, Marvin Mims? Who's it going to be? Time will tell. That's it. May 30th, minicamp practice number 2 for the media. And we'll see you next time. Nate Jackson, Guerilla Sports.